You're listening to The Brian Crabtree Show on demand. Catch Brian live and local. Weekdays starting at 4 on Biz 1190. Replay at 9 p.m. on AM 920 The Answer. Details at biz1190.com.
And here's something that I don't mean to freak you out with, but I think is true. Even our memories are not absolutely private in America. Right? Any of us can be compelled, in appropriate circumstances, to say what we remember, what we saw. Even our communications with our spouses, with our clergy members, with our attorneys are not absolutely private in America. In appropriate circumstances, a judge can compel any one of us to testify in court about those very private communications.
That's FBI Director James Comey earlier today speaking at an event where he's basically saying nothing about your life is private anymore. Of course, we know nothing about the CIA, intelligence community, or what have you is private either, because it keeps leaking like a fire hose out onto the public scene. Wikileaks, the big leak showing that basically there's an entire system in our intelligence community that can spy through our iPhones, our Android devices, and can even keep our television on while making it look like it's off for up to 2 to 3 days, recording and transcripting what's going on within the proximity of that television, if they so desire, legal or illegally. Our next guest is director of the London Center. His name is Herb London, frequent guest here on the program. We'll start with that. Herb, good to have you back.
Well, Brian, always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much.
Let me get your reaction to what I just said and the audio you just heard. Let's start there. WikiLeaks, James Comey, nothing is private anymore, and our intelligence community is a dam that's about to bust in terms of confidentiality. Your thoughts?
Well, part of the difficulty, of course, is you don't know if there are rogue groups within the intelligence community that have managed to pick up on the techniques that are used by Russians and Chinese and pretend they're Russians and Chinese, even though there's a rogue elements within the intelligence community. So it's created enormous confusion. That's number one. Number two, I think that Comey is correct. There is no privacy in the United States any longer, which is another great concern. In fact, there's probably very little that goes on in any conversation that isn't available to someone somewhere in government, which is, again, a very, very disturbing consideration. Again, a lot of these are algorithms. It's not always easy to demonstrate who made that call or who was speaking to whom. But nonetheless, if you wanted to dig deep enough, you could certainly find out. And then the last, and I think perhaps most noteworthy thing of all of this, is that it's created great suspicion among the public. People no longer believe what is being said because they don't know whether this is something that leaked or the knives were sharpened and they wanted to destroy someone using the intelligence apparatus. You look at Mike Flynn, for example. Mike is a private citizen. Before he was director of national security, has a conversation with the Russian ambassador. During the course of that conversation, he said at some point, we have to talk about sanctions. Well, he's asked by the vice president, did you talk about sanctions? He said no, and that really was not a talk about sanctions. He just said at some point we have to talk about sanctions. Well, the next thing you know, this is leaked to the Washington Post. That was a criminal act. The taping was not criminal because the taping between an American citizen and the Russian ambassador is clearly legal. But what is not legal is to take that tape and to give it to the Washington Post, have it appear as a story, and destroy the career of Mike Flynn, a person who I think had very significant contributions to make to this country and to this administration.
Yeah, no kidding.
I am deeply, deeply concerned about the way in which this is all evolving.
Now, let me say this. As the show began today, we learned that there is, in fact, an FBI investigation into a criminal activity involving what is believed to be WikiLeaks. They're not confirming anything, but you can add 2 and 2 together and easily get 4 here, which means that they believe, and the media is putting this together, and I believe this, that either a single intelligence contractor at a high security clearance or more than likely a couple of intelligence contractors is responsible for leaking all of this data to WikiLeaks. That would make this larger than the incident with Edward Snowden, and we know how big that was with the NSA spying program. On top of that, you just said something, because you have these contractors who are partnering with the government. It's very possible that they could have been in there. They could have made the WikiLeaks issue related to the election look very much like it came from Russia, and it could be something orchestrated by who knows who. I don't want to conjecture as who it is, but do you believe, given everything I've just said, that anything we've heard about any of these issues is true, or should we be absolutely suspicious, including the fact that even though it's confirmed in intelligence, Russia hacked the information of Podesta and the DNC, that may not be the case. What's your thoughts on all of that?
Well, I mean, look, I think you've raised an extremely important point. We do not know what's true. This is entirely in the realm of conjecture, as you've suggested. I am deeply suspicious about what is going on. And when claims are made, well, it's the Russians that were responsible, or it's the Obama administration that's responsible, you cannot be entirely sure. And within the administration, it's not clear. Now, the one thing that did happen, of course, is that there were FISA recommendations made by the Obama administration into what was going on in Trump Tower. That was reported in the New York Times on 2 different occasions. So it probably did happen. Was the president directly involved? I doubt it. But again, one doesn't know. What did he know and when did he know it? I have no idea. So we're engaged in what is undoubtedly going to be a major investigation. But finding out the truth behind all of this is going to be exceedingly difficult, if ever. I mean, if we'll ever find out.
It's almost so deeply classified, some of what we're dealing with. Do we need to know? By the way, Herb London
That's right.
President of London Center for Policy Research. I agree with you. 2 points. I'll let you go and continue. But I don't believe Obama ordered this. He may have known about it, like a Brady Deflategate kind of thing. I don't think he was involved in it. I think some senior official in his administration might have ordered it, might have caused it to happen if there was wiretapping. I think Trump said Obama because that's his hyperbole of these situations.
Right.
Easy for people to get going. So let's assume that it's someone a rung or 2 down from Obama, but high up in his administration. They've ordered this. It's been done illegally. It may be involving one of these contractors. Could be the same person. What is the average American citizen, in your view? How should we react to this? What should our biggest concern be? Or should we be concerned at all at this point? Is this just more of our government run amok?
Well, first of all, there's an awful lot to be concerned about. I mean, undoubtedly, Americans are suspicious, justifiably suspicious. But when you're dealing with security matters that could, in fact, affect the national security of this nation, I think it's something that every American should take very seriously indeed. And when we're talking about other nations, rogue nations, that may very well want to harm the United States, we are engaged in a war of cyber security, and there is no doubt that the Russians and the Chinese and even the Iranians are very clever at it. We're even more clever at it. The United States have the best hackers in the world, but there is no question that this is a war that is just underneath the radar screen. People do not understand it, but it is a war, and it is a battle for the minds and the activities of people across the globe. This is something that has to be taken very seriously indeed.
It's kind of a tech World War I. Where do you think these leakers developed? This has not been a way of life in America. We've not seen our intelligence community be anything but tight. Now it seems to be very loose. Where did this originate in your view?
Well, I think that there are a number of factors. I think that there are people at the top of the intelligence community who started to use intelligence for the development of policy positions. I mean, in 2007, I think Bush was prepared to attack, some evidence to support this, was prepared to attack Iran. But when the report came out by the NSA that the Iranians have ceased production on their nuclear facilities, the president obviously could not proceed with any sort of attack. And that's making policy. And now 90%, 95% of those people who work in intelligence are people of extraordinary integrity, hardworking, extraordinary human beings. But what's happened at the top is very different. You know, when Mike Flynn said to the President of the United States and when ISIS first got started, you know something, Mr. President, this is a very real threat. These people have managed to conquer a significant swath of land in Iraq and in Syria. We've got to do something about it. And the President said, just because these people put on a Kobe Bryant uniform doesn't mean that they're members of the LA Lakers. Why are you taking this so seriously? So Mike kept providing very accurate reports on what was happening, but the president didn't want to accept it until Mike finally had to resign.
I'm going to have to cut you there. We have to leave it there because we're up against a hard break. Very much appreciate you being here. Herb London,
always
President,
a pleasure.
London Center for Policy Research.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Crabtree Show on demand. Don't forget to catch Brian live and local weekdays starting at 4 on Biz 1190. Details at biz1190.com.